Welcome back to Sarita's garden. So today I'm going to walk you through all the mango trees that we have pruned. This is August 6th, 2025, and this is the time to prune. I'll talk about it a little more as we go along, but our goal is to keep our mango trees more shaped like bushes, and we were successful in that in the first 2 years of this mango. This is Carrie mango. This is the first mango we planted in April 2023. This was a 3-gallon pot. And unfortunately, we didn't know that this part of the yard floods massively and retains water when we have heavy rainstorms. So what my understanding is that the tree can handle that, but if you have heavy flooding while there's fruit on the tree, that can lead to your fruit splitting open while it's on the tree and not quite ready to harvest yet. So that would be a bummer. Luckily, and you can see on some of my other videos, this Carrie mango flowered twice this year. On the second flowering, there was fruit set, and we had tons of fruit set, and then a lot of them dropped off as is normal, and we had 13 mangoes that went to full size. They were delicious. We harvested them in the last couple of weeks. So what I've learned is that immediately after fruiting is the time when you want to come in and cut all the branch tips and pruning back to like the last segment of growth. So here are the spots where I just pruned a couple days ago. This is Wednesday. I did this all on, I think it was Saturday or Sunday. I got out here pretty quick because, like I said, we harvested the last of the mangoes last week, basically a week ago. And so anyway, I'll take you around the yard and I'll show you the different ones that we've cut. But basically you're just coming in and cutting to the most prior segment. So like here is the tip that I cut, and here right there is the most prior segment. So like if I hadn't already pruned it, I would cut back to that point and I would cut it on the outside here. So that's where I would cut it. Okay, so that's Carrie. That was the first one we planted. I'm going to move around the yard in clockwise direction. So we're now on the west side. This is orange sherbet, and we bought this, I think we bought this in 2023 and we planted it, but I think it was more like late summer, and it has not flowered yet. But you can see that I have been pruning it, and we've got 1, 2, kind of like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe like sort of like branches. I think, yeah, I did count 7 branch tips last night. I forgot. So since I pruned those back, and again, here's the spot where I cut back to, you'll also can kind of notice, it's just observational, that around the last growth ring, there's like a bunch of leaves. Can't get my words out today. So anyhow, there's that. Let's just show that one more time, the segment. So here is where I cut it at the end, and then here is the last segment of growth. I forgot the technical term, but it's right there. So if I hadn't pruned this already, this is the spot where I would come in and cut with my pruners right there. So what that does is it allows for more, okay, let me start over. The more tips you have of branches, and we're going to make our way north to the other mangoes, the mango flowers and fruit at the branch tips. So the more tips you have, the more fruit you have. And we're trying to keep our mangoes like a bush, so we can keep them on the smaller side and we can harvest and reach all the fruit. We don't want our tree so tall that we can't reach it. And so that's why we're keeping them more of like a bush shape and focusing on pruning from the get-go. So this one is one that I grafted, and the graft didn't take for many months, but eventually it did. And I think it might be orange sherbet. I don't actually know, because I thought the graft didn't take, and big mistake, I threw away the labeling of what the variety was that I had put on it. And so anyway, I came in here and I cut the very top. And so what will happen is when that regrows and flushes out over the next several months, instead of that being one branch ending, that will be maybe 3 or 4, sometimes 5. So now I'll have more branches coming up to kind of create a shape of the tree, and then it just continues on from there. Okay, so that's the new grafted of a good variety. I know it's a good variety because I only grafted things that we really love, so it'll be a surprise. This is our most recently purchased and planted mango. We planted this one this year, so this is a 2025 planting, and this is Pickering. This is our insurance mango. Pickering is known to produce most every year and be consistent. I would say the taste is like good. It's like a B mango, maybe B minus, but it's not bad. And so I hadn't pruned this when I first planted it. It did flush out with a little bit of growth at the top, so then I just pruned it right back to the last node right there. And again, I'm sorry, node might not be the right word. I don't know what the right word is, but these segments of growth that mangoes have, let's get in a little closer. So right there, that ring, that spot, that would be, if I hadn't pruned it, I would cut just right above that area or at the outside of that area where that brown kind of like ring is. Can't get my phone to focus. Okay, so those are the 3 on the west side. That's all we've got over here. So I'll go back to the story, which is trying to create your mango tree to be more like a bush so you can reach your harvest. You have more branch tips, which means more flowering, more chance of fruiting, and that's what we want, more fruit. And so the pruning is really critical to happen now. You can prune other times of year, but after fruiting is the most ideal to cut it back, get all those branch tips cut, and start to kind of get it in the shape you want while they're young. And then what's going to happen is over the next several months, those are going to flush out and be multiple branches. And we want that growth to happen now while it's warm and raining before we get to the dry and perhaps cooler time of the year. In Florida, that happens December, January, February. Okay, so let's interrupt our story to talk about Angie. This is a grafted mango that I grafted. This was the very first one that I did. And I didn't prune this one because I already pruned it at flowering. So what happened is that this mango flowered this year, January, February, March, sometime in there. And because it's a small tree, I did not want to let the flowers go to even try and make fruit. I wanted to just remove the flowers, and that was basically a pruning, and let the tree put its energy into being a tree. So this is Angie, a lovely tasting mango that we're very excited. Since it has flowered, we hope that maybe next year it might flower and even possibly set fruit. Okay, up in the northeast corner, I'm going to take you to a seedling mango. This mango was already here when we moved in, and in fact there were like 3 trees planted all right within like 12 inches of each other, very tightly. So to me, I think they threw some fruit. They had fruit and they put the seeds just right into the ground, the prior owners. And so this is the haircut I gave it. I'm not planning to let this tree grow to fruition. This tree is something I'm using to practice pruning techniques on. And there's a couple reasons why I don't want to let it go. Number one, it's a seedling, and that can take 7 to 10 years before it makes fruit, and the fruit could be of unknown quality. Mangoes do not grow true to seed, mostly. You need a polyembryonic variety. Most are monoembryonic, and so the likelihood that this will grow true to seed is low. But again, we don't know. We don't have the information. You can see our neighbors' trees. They have big, actually those are 2 mango trees behind here, a big thick hedge up there on the north side, and then they've got a big oak tree. So this corner is protected from a lot of wind, which for some trees might be fine, but for a mango that is much more susceptible to fungus and bacteria issues and things like that, because of our high humidity in the summer and being so far inland, it doesn't bode well for this tree doing well. And in fact, I have seen a lot of like black, I think it might be black powdery mildew in the last couple years. So anyhow, what I did was I came in and I cut off about 4 feet off of this mango, and I just cut back to where I felt like the shape was a little bit more manageable. But again, this tree wasn't pruned from the get-go, so it's already quite tall and not as bush-like as the one that I showed you at the first Carrie. Okay, so moving along. The other thing I've noticed about seedlings so far, we have one other seedling on our property, is that they grow very vigorously. And like the space between the growth nodes is huge. Like they grow really long between nodes, like a foot. Whereas the grafted ones seem to grow more like a few inches, 3, 4, 5 inches or something like that. So that's just something different I've noticed between grafted and seedling mangoes. Coming up here is Maha Chanook, and this one I pruned partially. This is the lovely tasting mango. It did flower this year. It did put out little teeny tiny fruits, but they all fell off. And so I did come in and prune these branch tip endings here. There was some growth already happening here, and it was just like beginning, and I thought, okay, I'm going to let these branches just kind of push out their new growth. Then I'll come in here and I'll cut it right there, so that the next time it grows, instead of being 1 branch tip, it'll be 3, 4, or 5. So that's kind of gives you a little bit of an idea of what happens here with the pruning. But again, I want to do it really soon, maybe in the next week or so that it has a chance to reflush out and grow those branch tips and really get some good growth on them before the dryness comes, because the dryness in the winter is going to trigger flowering, and we want those branches to grow before flowering occurs. This is a seedling that was given to us by our neighbor of a mango that she really loved. We don't know how it will come out because, again, a seedling is not going to necessarily grow true to seed. I don't think she knows if it's a poly or a monoembryonic variety. And so we are growing this here a little bit as practice again with pruning, but I also want to practice grafting. And I want to practice grafting. I've had some practice grafting on rootstocks. So that's, you have the rootstock in a pot, you have a cutting, you attach it on. What I want to practice is grafting in the field. So this is a tree that exists, it has a root structure, and what you can do is take a scion cutting from a variety that you love and graft it and attach it onto this tree. I think that's a little hard for them to take. It's kind of dependent on weather, sun, humidity. There's some factors that can make that more difficult to do. So I'm going to wait till some of these branch tips push out new growth. And when they, because this size, this diameter is really big, that's fat. I don't have mango trees in the yard with scions that fat. So I'm going to need some skinnier branches to grow out, and then I can try and graft onto that. So I'll keep you posted what happens with that. But that is the second seedling in the yard. Okay, moving along, we're almost done. We have 2 more. I think what we counted is that we have 10 total mangoes in the yard. 2 are seedlings, 8 are grafted. We're thinking of the 8 grafted. We've had 6 in the ground for a decent amount of time. So we think those all have at least a good solid chance of flowering and fruiting next year, which this year, like I said, we had a few. We had 3 that flowered this year, but only 1 that held fruit. This is another Angie mango, similar to the one I showed you up front, also grafted by me. And we love this variety. It's a lovely taste. It does really well in this inland part of West Palm Beach where we don't get a lot of breeze and we're more susceptible to anthracnose. And this one is a little bit anthracnose resistant. So I did come in and I pruned all the tips in here. So I think now we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe branch tips. So if those grow out, maybe we could have like 18 branch tips for possible flower and fruiting next year. So if we get super dry weather like last year, which I doubt will happen, but it could. We had really dry weather in November, so we had a very early flowering. I think it was early January. And then those flowers got damaged by a variety of factors. Could have been the cold weather snap. But we did get a second flowering this year, which we were grateful for. Okay, this is the final one. A little hard to see because there's green on the ground and green on the tree, but this is a Sweet Tart mango. And we planted this. This is also the one we have planted later than sooner. So we have not seen this flower yet, and but I'm really liking the shape of this tree. We love the taste of this fruit, Sweet Tart. It's delicious. Also a little bit anthracnose resistant. We've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think it's 5 tips there. So if those grow each 3 apiece, maybe we'll have 15 branch tips or more or less. You know, it's just an estimate next year to potentially get flowering. I think I heard Richard Campbell say that pruning and having more branch tips does help with flowering. I don't know if it's just that you have more branch tips and that you get more flowers, or if something about the pruning actually encourages flower growth. I'm not really sure. But anyhow, that's it for the mango tour. I'm going to put a link to Richard Campbell's pruning video. He's a great resource. I've done some classes with him down in Homestead. And thanks for watching Sarita's Garden. See you next time.